So I'm Tan Bun Bun and I'm married, mother of two. I'm the HR head for the Campari APAC currently, also the board member for the French Chamber of Commerce, co-president for the Women in Business Committee at the Chamber, active community leader, and a newly appointed lead for looking at the silver generation within my community.
Very impressive. So I'm Carine Lespayandel. I'm the Executive Director of the French Chamber of Commerce in Singapore. I'm French, married, 3 children who were made and born in Singapore. Oh. and very nice permanent resident in Singapore for the past 22 years. So almost Singaporean.
Yes, and I've known you for more than 10 years now?
Yes, we've known each other for very long.
Yes.
I followed my husband, as I said, 22 years ago. At the time I had a job which I really loved in London. I was head of franchises for Habitat. So it was not easy for me to quit my job and follow my husband. And of course then you have to reinvent yourself because you don't find a job and that is exactly the same. But then I had the opportunity to join what was called the French Business Association at that time, which was already a non-profit association, but of course the French business community was not as big as it is now. I entered, this business association as head of events, and then a few months after I became the director, and it's been a great journey. I mean, I've loved, being the director of the French Chamber because, I've seen the expansion of our business community here in Singapore, and we've really managed to build this business community through the French Chamber, and very proud of that. What about you?
Yeah, so for me, I started my career in consulting, and in consulting through the different projects that I was doing, I realized that I was always doing only 2 things: people and infrastructure to support people, So I think it was a natural evolution that I then went in-house, looking at HR, always in a regional role. So I've moved then through different industries like pharmaceutical, medical devices, supply chain and logistics, and now in the alcohol industry.
Talent and human is the common thread,
Exactly.
with your career.
Yeah. And through the companies, I think I've always joined them at very interesting times, where I think that I was able to make a big impact. France and Singapore, we do face certain challenges. I think we still are not too bad. I think when it comes to gender equality and opportunities, I think where I face the greatest challenge would be in countries where the power distances between the gender could be higher due to cultural. And so in those countries and situations, I think it takes a bit longer for you to push your agenda across in a culturally sensitive way. We still get there, but it just takes a bit more effort. Yeah. And how about yourself?
For me, one of the challenges I met in my career, as I said, it was to grow this non-profit business association into a powerful, organization, knowing that I would say French people are not so good at hunting in packs, but the sense of the mission is very important because we really want to have, all the French subsidiaries be part of our chamber because we want to represent French business in Singapore. So I would say that it's an ongoing effort that we all have to do, which is not obvious, but I think I'm quite proud because if I see, if I look at the journey, we've really managed to become one of the biggest chambers in the world. So it's and I think we have a strong support from our member companies, and yes, definitely. It's a nice journey. I work in the dermocosmetic industry, and then of course in Habitat was more design and furniture, but other sectors are not so, you don't see so many female CEOs. And I must say that in the past few years, I've seen a real evolution. If I take the airspace industry, for example, we have, great female CEOs and as board members as well. I think we have eight women at the board, which is wow, a record. And yes, you're right. There are some industries where there's really room for progress for sure.
The fact that there is a lot of more awareness on this topic and conversations around this topic itself is helping, where we talk about communities uplifting each other. And for mentorships, I think we don't just also talk about only women for women. We need to be mindful. We can also have men for women, women for men.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's about that. And then, of course, it's a lot more prevalent now, I think, as compared to, let's say 20 years ago. Yeah, so I think awareness is the first step.
Yeah, and actually you're involved in the Women in Business Committee of the Chamber, and also in the HR committee, where we try to really spread the word and talk about it. And we also have, women entrepreneurs group at the French Chamber, and we can see, and that's really great to see so many entrepreneurs. I mean, now, which I must say, 10 years ago we didn't see so much. So there's also, and including the tech sectors. So that's really great to see all these, women and empowerment and
Yeah, and I think even during the one of the inspirational women series at the Chamber, where we had the aviation, the women in the aviation, talking about the topic. I think what's interesting now also is that we're starting to see the topic being raised earlier and earlier from home. So then we avoid gender stereotyping, and we are able to not limit the choices that our children have based on their gender.
Things have changed, and luckily, and we'll continue to push the agenda.
Yes.
So, at the Chamber, we really have a lot of women working as employees. So all my heads of departments are women, which is really great. And at the board, as we mentioned, there are more and more, and I hope that there will be even more in the future, and that we won't even talk about it anymore because it will be just normal. So I think there's still room for progress for sure, but we're getting there.
Yeah, and I think for Singapore, the most significant developments in women's development would be the President's White Paper for women's development that was released in 2021. I think it covered very concrete actions for women's development in the spheres of social, I think family, at the workplace, including protection for women for domestic violence, more support for women of lower financial incomes, who are divorced, and also in terms of reproductive health, to give them a choice to freeze their eggs. So I think those are actually very concrete areas where we started to have the awareness of and started to talk about and implementing actions concrete in these areas.
Concrete actions.
Yeah,
that's good.